Hi, everyone. It's Danielle Marie from the One Realty here in Austin, Texas. And we're going to talk about what happened in September in Austin, Texas. We're going to talk about the pricing. We're going to talk about buyers, the number of buyers that are out there. And then we're also going to talk about what has happened currently and what is happening in October. So before we get to September, and September is kind of a little bit of a red wedding, a bloodbath, a little bit of what happened here in Austin, Texas. We're going to look at where we currently are for the week. So we're going to look at what happened. We're comparing to what happened actually in the beginning of September to what happened yesterday. So yesterday is going to kind of be our data point, and it's almost like a month over month of what has changed in the Austin real estate world. So without further ado, I am going to go through and we are going to take a look at my favorite weekly tracker. So I track Austin real estate weekly. I'm big on data. I'm big on figuring out what is happening in the Austin real estate market so that I can help my buyers and sellers in the future. So first and foremost, this is month over month that we're seeing a lot of this data. I wasn't week over week. So this is what happened 3 September to today, kind of what's changed. We're not really seeing a big dramatic shift in the actual inventory. So we're seeing inventory is only down 161. Now, our peak was well over 4,000 this year. We're down almost to 3,000, but that's still a ton of inventory. I'm talking, we have more inventory than we had in like 2020, obviously 21, 22, all of that. But it's been a while since we've had this much inventory. This kind of gives one of two things. Number one, sellers are remaining hopeful. Sellers are keeping their property on the market longer. They're not pulling it off. At the same time, we're not seeing drastic reductions in prices. We are seeing price reductions, but not drastic. So you're going to see right here, our average and our median price, not a big change month over month. So we're still right around a little bit under 1.1 million for our average, our median at 650. Now, when we go down to what has sold, that is completely different. We're going to see those numbers drastically drop down. As well as what's really interesting is our days on market right here, our average and our median, not much change there. Our actual our median days on the market actually went down. Now, that's probably just because we had some older listings kind of get pulled off or go stale and sell, or we just had a fewer newer ones. Nothing really big is changing in there. Also, with our number of listings with a price reduction. So you're seeing right here, we're just shy of 59%. And I can kind of say that's how it's been throughout the entire summer. We saw price reductions really start to pick up in March and April, and they've just kind of stayed we've just stayed around this 60%. We're not, which is a lot. That is a lot. Like if you look at where historically is across the US, it's typically around like a 40%. We are definitely high. We're high for Austin that we are seeing. What that also means is, especially if you're a buyer, so buyer tip, if you're seeing rapid price reductions, that might mean the seller is in a must-move situation. It could be a upcoming foreclosure. It could be a divorce. It could be a job changing. There's so many different things. So that might be your first, like, no, I don't call it red flag, almost like a light, like pay attention. At the same time, if you're a seller, be careful how you do your price reductions, because that's also going to display to the buyers kind of what story you're trying to tell. There's strategic ones. There's strategic ones like small price drops in order to get the algorithm to bring your house up and for people to see. And then there's also ones where you're just dropping it every week and it's obvious. With that being said, we did have in the past 7 days, we had 255 new listings. Why are we having new listings now? Well, it's in the fall. So we have people that have gotten back. They're in their routine. People are in school. It's kind of listing. 45 of them are just relist, but that's still a decent amount of relistings. With that being said, some of the ones that are relisting are listings that expired and they are just coming back on. Real close to same price point, nothing crazy there. At the same time, and this is kind of where the delta is almost zero. We've had 220 houses essentially go off the market this week. So you can see what was put on hold, withdrawn, and expired. And you're seeing that the median days for this is 101 was the median days before it went on hold. 106 was the median before it went on withdrawal. And 138 was before it expired. And if you look up right here for what's active, those are all a little bit longer than what is our active numbers as far as days on market. So it kind of gives you they're going a little bit past active and then they're pulling it. But when they pull it, it also helps bring this down, this average down. So what we really want to see is like, let's go and let's look at what is pending. So pending, this is crazy. So we're talking a whole month. We're later in the fall, and the total number of pendings, we're only down by 5 compared to where we were in September. Now, granted, in September, that's also when we saw like the interest rates cut, and we saw it go significantly close to 6%. We didn't get to 6%, but we saw that. And on that note, if you are a buyer, so the interest rates right now are like a 6.38%. I have a well-qualified buyer yesterday who reached out, not yesterday, but this past week. We're under contract on a house, and the original quote was close to like that. It was close to like a 6.5, which was a little high to begin with. And then you can apply to as many lenders as you want in a 45-day period without it hurting your credit score. It'll look like one credit pull. I say this because this individual, I had her go back to different ones, and she went to different people, and she ended up getting a 6.125 with no points, and then ended up all the way down at a 6%. And I want to say no points, no discount points. She didn't buy down the rate. She ended up with a 6%, and she paid like $1,300 for it. It was a little bit, that's what worked for her. And that is insane. So just because you see the higher interest rates, go and find out. You may be lower than you actually think that you are based on what your down payment is, based on your credit score. You could also be higher, just to put that out there. But with that being said, our number of pending listings here, 825. Our weekly pending listings. Now, this is really interesting. Our weekly for this past week, from Wednesday of last week to Tuesday of this week, so to the 7th, we had 173 single family homes go pending. And you're like, why are you excited about that? Well, let me show you. If we look at this pending data right here, I keep track of it every week. And so you can see we're at 173 this week. I started doing this last year weekly. Like, where are we weekly? And if we look at where we were weekly last year, we were at 144. So we're actually doing better this year than we were last year when it comes to the total number of pending. So that's a good, hey, if there's a good news story, we're seeing more activity, because even like last week we were at 190. And if we went last year, we were at like 137. So this is great to keep track of. Now, the next thing that we are going to see right here is we see our pendings kind of, this is a little bit high, which is nice. We're seeing our average pending price. It actually jumped up 17,000. Now, this is a good thing, because when you go down to see our sales, this is where it's going to kind of be like a punch in the gut. We're seeing our sales go substantially down as far as price point. So we're seeing our average pending right now went up a little bit month over month almost. Median kind of stayed the same. No real change in our days on market. You're looking at a month to 2 months, or 2 months, around 2 months is kind of where, give or take, is kind of where things are going pending. And the number of houses with the price reductions, the fact that almost 60%, so very close to what is with the number of active listings, the fact that almost 60% of those houses have gone pending, that is actually phenomenal news. Now, we're going to go right here, and we are going to look at what has closed in the past 30 days. So if we look what's closed in the past 30 days, you're going to see month over month, we're down by like 34, and we are just under 700. And that's kind of like, oh, it's not great. And if you actually look in a second, we're going to look historically. It's definitely not great historically as far as it goes for the month of September. The big kick is right here. Our average sales price and our median sales price down 70,000 in 1 month. Our average sales price in the past 30 days is 764,000. Our median is 585,000. So if you talk about Austin becoming like more affordable, I mean, it's all a question of whether it is actually affordable or not. But that being said, that is an absolute drastic drop in price here in Austin. You're seeing our days on the market, which the sales days on market, I don't really pay as much attention to, because really the leading indicator is what is happening in pending. So you're going to continue to see this go up because this number here is pending. So we're looking right around a little over 2 months. Similar here. Now, what was interesting is month over month, the close price to list price and close price to original list price, that both went up. So we looked at our close price to list price, it went up slightly on the average, but our median went up 1%. And then other than that, it kind of stayed the same. So what that tells me right here is it was probably a lot had to do with these price reductions and the type of buyers that are coming out and that are buying right now. I'm seeing a lot of first-time home buyers that are getting in. I'm seeing a lot of buyers that have been waiting on the sidelines. They're like, hey, I think Austin's kind of stalled. Here's where I'm going at. So, because this right here shows month over month, it's very similar. It shows that people are just going for those lower priced homes because this isn't dramatically changing, but this is. So they're going for the same percentage, which means they're just going in at lower priced homes. Now, if you're joining me, and this is a recap, so thank you for joining me. My name is Danielle Fountain. I'm the founder of the One Realty, where we take a data-driven, all-in-one approach to buying, selling real estate here in Austin, Texas. What we've seen so far is stagnation when it comes to the number of listings. We're not really going up. We're not really going down. Same, our pendings year over year, our pendings seem like they're up a little bit higher, which is going to go and show in the number of sales. For our sales data, we are down significantly. We're talking $70,000 to our average and our median. If we look at what happened and what closed out in September to kind of where we are now in October, when we hop into September's data, this is kind of where it gets ugly. So here is our monthly data. And so I'm going to show, so we are going to look at where we are for Austin for the month of September. Now, granted, we're still going to probably have, we're only at the 9th. Typically, we still have some things that come in, honestly, all the way up until the end of the month and continuing. I would not be surprised if we're in the low 7s as far as where this September closeout data is. Has to do with garbage in, garbage out. So if agents don't put their data in, we don't see it right away. Same with home builders. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Now, this right here, red, that is all a negative trend. So year over year, we're down $23,000 for our average price. We are down $30,000 for our median. So we're talking between 3 to 5% down on those two numbers. If we look at year over year, where we did last year compared to this year. Now, this goes back to our number of pendings. You can see this. Oops. You can see right here our number of sales. We're up 20. We had 20% more sales this year. Now, last year was an election year. And if you're looking at September, you're looking at what actually happened in August is probably dictating a lot of September. So there was a lot of unevenness and people were just kind of like unsteady last year. And that's kind of what's reflective here in this data. You're going to see overall, not big changes as far as our days on market, but you are seeing right here for where our ratio, our closed price to list price, our closed price to original list price, they're all down. So buyers are getting a better deal. So buyers, you can negotiate price. Buyers, you can negotiate money towards closing costs. Buyers, you can negotiate when you're going to close. There is a lot of opportunities for buyers that are willing to be active out there. Don't let the interest rate necessarily scare you until you've gotten approval and you've checked it out. I've seen some crazy interest rates lower just because the same time sellers are trying to sell, the lenders are trying to lend. With that, if we look at month over month, this is where, so year over year, okay, we're down. Month over month, we are dramatically down because we had kind of been picking up throughout the year. At the beginning of the year, it was looking like a better year. I didn't think we'd have crazy percentages up or down in regards to where we were going to end up for the year, where we're going to end up, 2% above. I thought we were going to be below. I thought it'd be like a few percentages below, but this right here just kind of tanks everything that we made earlier in the year. So you're seeing month over month, our average is down 60,000. Our median is down 60,000. We're talking between 7 to 9%, significantly lower. We're also, but this is the interesting part. If you look right here, our closed price to list price, it's very similar. So what that is also telling me is that it's a different type of house that's also being bought. It's a different type of buyer as well, because they're not negotiating majorly off of it. They're not majorly negotiating off significantly off where the list price was, where the original list price was. They're probably just going after a different home, which is kind of what you can see. The median square footage fell by 72, and that's a good little swing that goes into it. It's like 4%. Oh, right there, 3.3%. But that just kind of shows you, hey, there is a change. Now, if we look at where we were to December, this is going to kind of give us our projections. Where are we going to end up at the end of the year? Are we going to end up? Are we going to end up down here in Austin, Texas? This was the gut kick this month. Unless we see a recovery in October, Austin's going to continue to drop down. Now, I know we talk about Austin as the Metroplex when you see on the news, and that's dropping obviously because we have towns like Buda and Gerald, and then you look at Spicewood and you look at Kyle, all these different areas, they're all different cities that you can't really necessarily compare to Austin. But this right here, if we look at where we were in December to today, in December, our sales price, our median sales price was $20,000 higher. Our average sales price was $50,000 higher. So that is seeing a drop down. Now we are seeing a drop down in our square footage by 2.41%, but that's a big drop. Now, the only other caveat, and this is just me talking on the fly and kind of thinking about the other buyers that we are starting to see some investors come back. And so we're seeing investors come back not because they're buying new homes, not because they're buying renovated homes, because A, they're either going to renovate or flip the home. And then B, we're also seeing builders come out and start to buy the lots. And that's just because there's not a lot of inventory there. So the question is, could some of this also be investors buying? I'll have to dive into the number of sales that are cash and investor sales versus like conventional or FHA to see kind of, hey, has that changed? Because that'll give me another little data point. But with that being said, looking at this all right now, these are very similar. So this close price to list price, we're closing a little bit higher than we were in December, but we're closing a little bit lower as far as to the original list price. That means that sellers are dropping their price and they're having more price cuts now than they kind of were in December. Now, where does this stand? So historically, we were selling like 933, 945 houses per month. We're selling 609. So we're definitely down. You can look, that's like 25, 26% down compared to our historical average. If we come back here and we look at where we are in October, and we are early, we are like, yes, we're, over almost a third of the way in, but that doesn't count all the late reporting. I'd say we're probably about 20% in of what's going to be reported for the year. You can see that our numbers kind of go up a little bit right here. Our average sales price are a little bit higher. We're kind of seeing that right here. So the question is, was September, which was August contracts, meaning when houses got under contract August, was that just a slip for the month? Were we just slipping up? Was it just kind of a little downward trend? Really, as we watch October and we see, hey, our pendings going up, what is happening to our sales data? That's really, really what it's gonna tell us. But I can just say overall right now, Austin for September, meaning August contracts that closed in September, they were atrocious. Our numbers were down 50,000, 70,000, depending on if you're looking at month over month or year over year. And then if you are looking at like the number, the only kind of saving grace that we're kind of seeing in Austin is this September, we're seeing more houses go pending in these past 2 weeks than we did year over year. So maybe that's a trend. Maybe I know that people have been watching to see what was happening with interest rates. They're really waiting to see what the Fed did. That just might be a sign. But for now, I'm not banking on Austin having any crazy appreciation. We'll probably have some depreciation, but that also could be the type of houses that were being bought. So with that, my name is Danielle Fountain. I'm the founder of the One Realty here in Austin, Texas. You can find me at _1_realty on X, or you can find me at www.theonerealty.com. If you have any questions about the Austin real estate market, specifically in buying or selling, and you want to build a strategic plan, do reach out and we can see how that fits, into your life goals and also into today's market. So with that, have a wonderful day.